interests being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in Burquia. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you. I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
For your business or your home, Valley Fence stands alone. We're number one in New Mexico for a reason. It's the best fence you can own. Proudly serving New Mexico for over 50 years. At Valley Fence, the difference is clear. No fence too big, too small, or difficult. We handle them all at Valley Fence Company.
Pitch. There's a line drive right at the shortstop for out number 3.
Apodaca ripped to left field. That will bounce in, so it's going to be extra bases as they'll have to chase that one at the wall in the warning track. Flipped up, there's no play at home. So it's an RBI double for Andrew Apodaca. Runner at third. High leverage spot. Can Chavez keep the tie? No, that's going to be cracked into left field. It's a base hit as Love puts the Sandia Matadors ahead for the first time today.
The 0-2. It's upstairs, goes to the backstop, and the run will not score. Gun down at home.
Chavez rocks and fires. Ahmed, that's going to be an RBI for Ahmed as that one right through the gap in right center. Petrie will scoop that one, and it's looking like a triple as Ahmed plugs into third base, and what a way to score that run for the Matadors.
Coach Romero barking out his orders there to his players. He's been around the game for a long time. Nice shot to center field. That'll bring runners in. Just like that, LaCueva will bring 3 runs.
And we saw Ruben Douglas pass away earlier. Greg Brown lost his life in an accident. So there's the unfortunate circumstances. But what we're going to see in the pit tomorrow night with youth all-star games, 3-point contests, will be throwing down some dunks. and then they'll get out there and play the Lobo alumni versus the Enchantment team that's going to go play in the TBT. It is, though, a good look at the community that athletics can foster.
Yeah, and I don't know, as of right now, there wasn't on the schedule a dunk contest. Maybe they still sneak one in, but if you do look at this roster, while these are some of the
I was just
Lobo
thinking
greats,
for some reason in my head like they're going to do that.
Well,
regardless.
that's what I'm wondering if they will. But if you look at this Lobo alumni roster, these are some big time names, but not exactly the dunkers of the past 15, 20 years. And I am curious if they still try and do a dunk contest or not, because I think all the best dunkers might be on the Enchantment team that aren't former Lobos, and a lot of fans coming out tonight are looking for those former Lobos. But look, the TBT team, the Enchantment, is a pretty solid roster. If you just go by name power, this alumni team is far better, right? It looks really, really good, and it's deeper. But a lot of these guys are well into their 30s,
there's a lot more coaches than players on the alumni team.
There absolutely is, and it'll be interesting. I do think for name power and name recognition and nostalgia's sake, I think that alumni team's loaded, and I do think Lobo fans will have a good time tomorrow night.
And one of the things too with the TB2, which I enjoy, it's the and we'll do that a little bit later in the show. Is look at some of those rosters, because the Enchantment right out of the gates is matched up with the Boise State alumni team, so there's a lot of names that you're going to know there, watched over the last few seasons. But
Max Rice. Sorry to ruin your Monday morning.
Max Rice turned the Lobos into fried rice plenty of times in his career at Boise State. But looking at the players that are committed, and it's fascinating dynamic between the throwback guys, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember, versus the majority of these guys are still in the middle of their playing career, mostly playing overseas, trying to keep that dream alive. And we've seen the TBT grow into an event where you get a lot of quality players across the board on these rosters.
This year's TBT has a few teams that have, I think it's the Kansas roster and the Kentucky roster, that are going to have like two of the blue blood college basketball programs and have some really recognizable names on some of those teams. So again, if you just go by name power, what I was saying about this UNM alumni team, like some of those rosters are probably going to strike some fear into people's minds, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you were rated out of high school and what big blue blood college program you went to. It matters that the best player the last 2 years for the Enchantment was Scott Bamforth, who had to go to a junior college because he wasn't getting recruited Division I out of high school at Del Norte. And then he went to Weber State and he teamed up with Dame Lillard, another guy who was under recruited, and became the best player on this Enchantment team. Dame Lillard, a great player in the NBA. Scott Bamforth has not just played overseas and made a decent living. He's been a star overseas. He's kind of the better than AAA baseball player, probably not quite MLB level kind of player. And he's done it overseas, kind of making good money, but proven he is a legit player. He might. I think we talked about this last year. I remember being here over the summer last year talking a little TBT. Scott Bamforth might be the best professional basketball player out of New Mexico right now. I don't know who else is in the running for that. If you wanted to say New Mexico ties, Pascal Siakam obviously is better than him, but that's not a from New Mexico scenario. It's a guy who went to a New Mexico school. But Scott Bamforth is probably the best pro basketball player right now out of New Mexico.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you look at these Enchantment rosters and what they do, the hype is, hey, here's some guys but really when you start watching that tournament, the best teams and best players are the ones that are playing at the highest level somewhere overseas.
Yeah, you're not going to see a TBT team win with the best players on that team being those big names that you remember from college. A lot of these guys are the guys that kept developing even after college. I do think we get caught up a lot in how good were you in college and just forgetting that development comes at different stages, right? I mean, there are kids that are getting recruited as 8th and 9th graders that are already very, very good at that young age. Their development probably slows down at some point. There are other kids who don't, Scott Bamforth, for example, who probably don't start peaking until their senior year of high school or maybe even into college. There's nothing to say that there aren't people that still get better after college, right? It's not just about where you were when we last saw you, because, we don't watch the Euro Network or Euroball too much. You can get better, and a lot of these TBT teams have some of the best players from overseas.
Man, speaking of getting better, might be on the docket for one Bronny James, who actually addressed playing G League basketball. Well, Summer League was underway over the weekend. A lot of storylines coming out of the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. One of those was Bronny James and the development plan that he sees for himself. But when you come back on the other side, what comes from all the talk? Mountain West Football Media Days were last week. You heard players speak up. You heard coaches speak about a lot of things. From Bronco Mendenhall to Jay Norvell, they had a lot to say about the state of college football, about the state of college athletics. So what comes from that? When you say something, are you going to get any action from that? We'll dive into that next. Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, joining us in studio this morning. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
It's kickoff time.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman!
Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh? I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom. Sweet? Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight. Boom! Boom!
Hi, I'm Steve Stunker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
I'm going out, Grandma.
When are you coming home?
I'll be home late. Don't wait up, okay?
Be careful, mijito.
Love you, Grandma.
Mijito. He's a good man. Sometimes he just makes bad decisions. I tell him, mijito, cuidado. Be careful. You might hurt someone. He doesn't listen.
I tell you to stop, okay?
Hello.
It's me.
Hi, mijo. Where are you?
Dale was drinking and driving. I need you to come and get me, okay? Please, Grandma? Can you just come and get me? Grandma?
Leave him in jail.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
You know that when the coaches get out there, the coverage that you see around the SEC. When you look at what came out of Big 12 media days with Deion Sanders in Colorado, Mountain West football laid plenty of headlines in Las Vegas last week. What happens now? Because a lot of people are talking about it. So what does that mean, and what are they talking about? It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal this morning. Bobcat holding it down, producing once again. And, of course, you can watch the show on ProView Networks. Adrian holding it down back there, making us look good online in Xfinity Comcast. Xfinity Channel 26 says, Comcast thing is done now. But, the headlines are fun. There's a lot of stories. And reading through your colleague Sean Ryder's story about some of his favorite quotes from Mountain West Football Media Day last week. And there's definitely stuff that jumps out. And what I want to start with is Jay Norvell.
Yep.
And you look at Jay Norvell, and he's been a head coach in the Mountain West since 2017. That's an eternity now. We're going from Nevada to Colorado State, one of the longest tenured coaches in the Mountain West. Troy Calhoun at Air Force is sitting up top that list right now. But he said what a lot of coaches say privately, kind of say out loud, but it's dealing with the reality in this era where there's no guardrails. What is a guardrail? I have no idea anymore. And I've said that phrase so many times. I'm like, they need to put some guardrails on this. They need to figure this out. And it's like, I have no idea what that means. But Jay Norvell, Colorado State coach last week, just threw it out there saying, yeah, teams were coming for Troy Horton, his best offensive player. He said Texas A&M, Ole Miss, they've all been on him. They were talking to his quarterback, Brandon Fowler, Nicolsi, who said that he had a $600,000 offer from Kansas State if he went into the portal. And I guess at this point in time, is that all you can do is talk about it and try to put people on blast because it's happening.
Yep.
No one's denying it anymore. It's a part of the game, especially when it's not like you can't directly point at coaching staffs now. When you have NIL Collective, you can have agent. There's so much back channel communication that's going on. What do you take from this story? Because this isn't the last we're going to hear about it. Other coaches are going to be saying it. Other coaches are going to say that was their biggest challenge of the offseason is fighting off teams that were coming for their players. Like how, as a whole, from coaches and athletes to people that are covering it to the fans, deal with these stories right now?
So a couple things on Jay Norvell. First of all, he is very outspoken. He's the one that'll say this, right? He spoke out last year before it was popular to do so. I shouldn't say that. Some people were taking shots at Prime in Colorado throughout, but even when they were on their hot start, he was the one that was like, I'm not backing down to Deion Sanders just because he's Deion Sanders. Jay Norvell is outspoken, so I'm not shocked that he was the guy that said something, but all these coaches say this stuff in private or just, when a mic's not in front of them. I will say this. I was a little surprised he kind of hedged his comments when he said, he was talking about his quarterback, and he said, I'm not accusing Kansas State of anything. I'm just telling you what the kid told me. Well, that's kind of a weak way for a coach to go about it. You are absolutely accusing Kansas State of something, because later on you say you got to get your guys in check if you're Kansas State. I will also point out, for whatever it's worth, I don't know that it means anything necessarily, but Colorado State last year fired their athletic director and replaced him with the guy that was running their NIL collective. Colorado State is very aware. Their athletic director now, John Weber or Jim Weber, I can't remember, is the guy that was running their collective, their NIL collective, their Kurt Roth, if you will. And he is their athletic director. They are very well aware of the NIL space and the importance of it. They too have taken players from other schools. It's sort of we've said this in the Mountain West a lot, because the Mountain West was a transfer conference long before transferring was legal and long before NIL and all that. I shouldn't say legal, long before transferring was what it is today with the transfer portal. A lot of these alumni that are coming to the Lobo All-Star game tomorrow for basketball, a lot of them are transfers. You look at some of the best Lobos of the Mountain West era have been transfers, including the late now Ruben Douglas, the late Drew Gordon. Both of those were transfers. J.R. Giddens, Elijah Brown, Tim Williams were both transfers. Jamal Mashburn Jr., Jalen House, the list goes on and on, right? So the idea that don't poach and don't take our players is just now kind of hitting the Mountain West is sort of silly, because the Mountain West has actually been taking players for a long time, and they've been taking them from other programs. Now the money is talked about openly. Whether or not their quarterback was offered $600,000, I don't really know if that's accurate or not. But I'll bet it's probably true, because I think the quarterback position is demanding that kind of money. I just don't think that the Mountain West is ever going to be in a position where, they can complain about it all they want, but I don't think there's anything to do. You said the guardrail comment. What does that even mean? I don't know what it means. It would be great if there was some sort of mechanism, like in pro sports, where if a team is able to retain a player, they can offer him a little more money, to stay with your team.
Your rights.
Yeah, your rights. But there's not going to be a setup like that. That's what the antitrust stuff is. And we don't want to get into all that boring talk that make people turn the radio off. But the reality is the NCAA is in a position where they don't have competition. They got to follow certain rules. They are going to have to pay these players. Another NCAA ruling on Friday basically said these guys are headed towards employment. They have to be considered employees. And I just don't think there's really anything you can do to restrict a player from getting their best deal.
But I do think the challenge is, how do you, are we looking at this as a sports model or as each one of us?
And the business model, yeah.
Because there's some things. Yeah, there's, you can sign a contract in business, understand it, non-compete clauses, all that stuff, but most employees have freedom of movement whenever they want.
Yep.
But are we going to be looking at them like that, or as athletes, where we should at least say, hey, here, you have a 1-year contract, here it is, you start scaling it certain ways maybe. And I think that in the NIL space is probably where they need to go. Is here's your base NIL deal.
Yep. If
you stay and play in a bowl game, if you're a football player, X amount of money. Because I think that's probably the biggest thing now.
Yeah, I agree.
What is it going to be? Is it going to be a year and then you're back, or is it hey, I'll be here half a year, bounce?
If you look at the biggest pro contracts, and if you look at some of these coach deals, they've been dropping for years the base salary, because that's basically what schools can get back, or that's what the teams can get back, and then they load up on things like guaranteed contract or signing bonuses and stuff like that. We could see stuff like that happen in the NIL space, but assuming, let's just go from what it is for now. I do think that more money could be tied into playing in a bowl game, or more money could be backloaded in the end of the season. Now, it's the enforcement of that. Are they actually going to get paid? Some of these NIL collectives right off the bat in that first year weren't really paying some of the players the amount that they said they would. No reports of that happening here, by the way, or down in Las Cruces, New Mexico State, or UNM. Both collectives are actually pretty good in their spaces, in their relative to their conferences. And I just think that there's maybe a way you can write into some contracts, buyout clauses. If I'm telling you you're getting $100,000 in NIL money to come play for Team X, well, if you leave before a certain date, or if you do not start the second year of that contract or something like that, well, then you give 50% of it back or something like that, or you don't get it, and that's how you can backload it. So there's stuff like that I think you can try and do for retention purposes, but ultimately there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do to restrict players from getting the most money they're offered.
The one area where I could see this going, and it'd be really hard to get there, is almost like a soccer model. Could you get, and this is where, the contracts would then kind of come in, and you sign maybe like 1-2 year scholarship deals with teams, and then, binding to whatever collective they have is, in soccer, on the international stage, the transfer market.
Right.
You usually you don't trade a player for a player.
Right.
You sign a player and there's a fee involved. I'm wondering, if that's even something that could be down the line.
Maybe, and maybe in terms of, even if it's not monetary, if it's scholarships, if there's an 85 scholarship limit for football, is it 85? Is that even the right number? If there's an 85 scholarship limit for football and you lose, there's got to be some sort of then board to kind of determine these things, but you lose X amount of your players, and maybe starters count more points or something, but you lose a certain amount of your team to the end that is still playing and transferring elsewhere, not just leaving school or not just stop playing altogether, but if they're actually leaving and transferring to another school, you then get a bonus of 5 extra scholarships, or maybe you get penalized if you built your whole roster off taking, players from other rosters, you lose 3 or 4 scholarships. I don't think penalizing a school for taking transfers is ever going to happen, and probably shouldn't, frankly. But I'm just trying to think of little ways you can kind of massage you can mitigate the pain and the suffering that a team might have if they just get wiped out by NIL. If they cannot compete, well, that's the world we live in, but there are ways you can maybe help the teams that are getting wiped out.
As we know, it's not going backwards with this. And as college sports fans, NIL now. You understand the transfer portal, but there still is within this world trying to figure out the best for both parties involved. The student athletes understanding that they're getting a piece of the pie now, but also for these schools and roster construction, roster building. How do you manage this stuff? And there is a quote that Bronco Mendenhall dropped on us last week on the opening drive that I want to get into next. And it's not in the NIL game, not about the transfer portal, but he thinks that there's one more major shift coming when it comes to college athletics. What could that mean for the University of New Mexico? He is Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal. JJ Bucket is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on? Who are you guys?
Well, sir, I'm going to pick you up at the DWI checkpoint for drunk driving.
And that's when I have to come down to get you out of jail.
Well, temporarily. I'm Judge Torres. They call him the Hammer.
Hey, hot off the presses, champ.
I'm real proud of you, honey.
Way to make them happy back home, Captain.
Who's that?
That's your new buddy in jail.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them, gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman! Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh? I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom. Sweet? Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight. Boom! Boom!
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta. So stop by and see us today at Fiesta Kia on Lomas, or just start driving now at fiestakia.com.
Burglary takes place in the United States approximately every 15 seconds. International Protective Service is your answer for commercial and residential security in all of Albuquerque. IPS will work with your monitoring company for fast, reliable response times. You can rest easy knowing you, your family, or your company is watched over by International Protective Service. Call International Protective Service today.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Nick Saban. New role for him. SEC Media Days, and he's on the other side. He is the rat poison now. He's a talking head no longer. Head coach at Alabama. How about that? Nick Saban, Bill Belichick on the other side. How's it feel now? Talking down to us all the time, saying, how dare you ask me that question? Don't distract our team. And now you're one of us. Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, just like Jeff Grammer and J.J. Buck, right?
Same page. I mean, we're
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the number of times Nick Saban has texted me just asking me, "Hey, how do you handle this in the media?" Where I mean, come on, Nick.
Like Nick.
Yeah.
Hold on. Slow your roll.
I'm watching La Bamba. Come on.
Got La Bamba on in the background.
Yeah.
First, watch that, and then get back to me.
Yes.
It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. Speaking, we're discussing, what comes from the talk. This is what media days are all about. You get some headlines. Jay Norvell definitely wanted to go out there, but it's like, who wants to follow him in this space? Because it's one of those things too. Right now, if you're a coach or really anyone in an institution, you're like, yeah, but maybe don't look in our backyard because I don't know if anything's gone on along those lines.
Yep.
That we might have done that to someone, but yeah, that's right. Don't come after our players. Bronco Mendenhall joined us last week before he went to Vegas. He was still building fences and riding horses in Montana before media days. And he had a lot of good nuggets. He was talking about this stuff we were discussing, 60 new players on the Lobo roster, the NIL space, building a team or not given. But one of the things that he did say, and it was kind of matter of fact, and he thinks that there's still one more major shift coming, not just in conference realignment, but he pretty much said that FBS football, as we know it, he thinks that there's going to be a split.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be your power conference teams now, which we see the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12 hang on in there. We know the ACC is kind of up in the air because Clemson and Florida State have been aggressively trying to get out of their media rights deal that ties them to the conference. And he thinks like that shift is coming. And I think a lot of people, with what we've watched over the last few years, are comfortable with that when it comes to football, is understanding that there is a bigger gap that you're not going to cover. You say you're all Division I, but you're not playing the same game. The fallout, though, is if that happens, the giant what if is, can you split football and keep everything else relatively the same?
So here's where I'm at with it. If this does happen, and I agree with him, I think it is eventually going to happen. I hope the sport, and the sport being the greater NCAA sport of all college athletics, so the industry of college athletics, takes it as an opportunity, the split of FBS football, the haves and the have-nots, or however you want to explain what the split will be. I hope they take that as an opportunity to then reevaluate football's place in the big picture of all this, because the conference realignment mess that we're in, USC, UCLA, and they're in the Big Ten now, competing against the Rutgers tennis team example is what everyone talks about, right? Like, it's ridiculous to send Rutgers tennis to LA for a Tuesday match. And that's the extreme example that we're talking about because of all this realignment. When FBS does split in whatever fashion it splits between the haves and have-nots, I hope college athletics takes that as an opportunity to split football away from all the other sports. Football just needs to be broken away, not just split up amongst itself into two divisions, or however you want to do it, but you need to split football away from the other sports, because it is ridiculous to break up geographical rivalries and just for cost effective purposes to break up all these conferences that might have been out west or in these little pockets geographically speaking of the country, just because of football. And football is the driving force. They drive the bus. Everybody gets that. We don't need to get into it because we all know that that's the case. But let them drive that bus in a football sense. Don't make all these other sports have to follow suit. And if the FBS is going to split up, use that as an opportunity to also just sort of reevaluate the whole structure. Because if you're in the lower tier of FBS, say you're a Vanderbilt in the SEC right now, right? I would assume that the SEC is a conference, that they would select this as conferences. But what if they don't? What if somehow there's another pecking order that they choose to split this up, and a horrible team in the SEC then gets left off into the have-nots? Like, why? I don't know. If you're not going to get the football money anymore, does it make sense for a Vanderbilt, every other sport, to be in the SEC? Not if you're not getting the football money. Yeah, it might not.
And then the one, I guess the question, there's plenty of questions in this. Well, Jeff Zimieta, he pushes back all the time.
Yeah.
When I bring this up and we kind of go back and forth with it, is, well, how are you supposed to feel if you're competing in a conference in other sports with that large of a revenue gap?
Right.
Right. So say, oh yeah, my football program's really good. It's the Big Ten, but the rest of my programs are playing Mountain West or West Coast Conference,
right?
Olympic sports and basketball.
The whole setup right now, where it's based on revenue, like, I mean, it's Texas, it's Stanford, Ohio State, like some of these schools that like win the Directors Cup every year because they have the most sports. We're still not too far removed from, and I don't want to pick any scabs or anything here, but like schools that were removing sports for financial reasons, right? We're in a place right now where all those other sports should be treated one way. And I say all those other sports, and I mean everything but football, frankly. There are only a handful of schools really across the country that still make more money in revenue every year by their Division I basketball programs as opposed to their football teams, UNM being one of them. And it depends on how you want to divvy up the money. if you just want to go by TV money and all that, it's still football. But if you go by ticket revenue and the money that the donors bring in and all that, UNM's one of the last handful of schools in the entire country that have FBS football programs that aren't making as much from their football as they are from their basketball. So the idea that like we're way past the point where FBS is even in question. Like it should be its own entity. FBS football should be its own entity, and then every other sport should go back to more geographical. Keep the Mountain West what it is. Keep the old Pac-12 what it was, and let football go do its own thing.
And that's going to be the biggest hurdle when we have these discussions moving forward, because we know it's not done with the alignment, and because there's still a lot of questions to answer with funds and how much money is going to have to be shared and paid to the student athletes. Is our university presidents, our athletic directors going to be okay playing in a conference with a school that could double their budget?
Right.
I mean, that's what it would look like.
Instead of, like, I keep bringing up geography, right? What if all these conferences were strictly based on budgets? Like at the end of every year, or maybe 2-year cycles, kind of like the NMAA does with the high schools here, right? Like they look at the enrollment every couple of years and they reclassify. Should one school move up from 4A to 5A? What about these districts? Do we need to kind of divvy these up differently? What if every couple of years the NCAA looked at like just revenue or operating budgets and said, okay, the top 10 go into this conference, the next 10 are in this conference, and they just kind of go down a list like that, and you wouldn't have these large gaps even within a conference sometimes of how much money is being spent on all these sports. But obviously that's not going to happen. But there is a huge financial disparity between sports and between schools that just makes it, I guess, less fun. If you really think about it, it's hard to compete when your overall operating budget is in the 18 million range, like in New Mexico State, or 32 million range, like in New Mexico, and you're thinking about playing on the same level as a Texas, who has well over $100 million kind of operating budget for athletics, and they're all at the same level in FBS. It just doesn't make sense.
505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. We'll continue this conversation as we go on throughout the morning talking season. But what comes from it when it comes to the questions of college athletics and how coaches and universities are handling their future? But when we come back, do not ask the head coach of Team USA Women's Basketball a question about the USA roster. Not having it. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Like me, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma, my brother, my tutor, my dad, and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
Don't look now, but a young team with a lot of talent and developing. It's the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark The Fever, they're only 11-14. That was after like a 3-10 start. So they are on fire. They need more cowbell. They defeated Minnesota 81-74, and Caitlin Clark continues to put up big-time numbers as a rookie. Now has 139 assists on the season. That is most by a player in a single season. A rookie in WNBA history, according to ESPN Stats and Information. Now, she also passed Sue Bird, who was number 2 on that list. Now, turnovers, well, that's where she is up there. 6 turnovers on Sunday. But she is a playmaker. And do not ask the head coach of Team USA Women's Basketball about the Team USA roster. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the sports animal. JJ Buck joined by Jeff Grammer, a women's basketball beat reporter for the Albuquerque Journal, and the Swiss Army knife for the Journal. So the Fever defeated the Lynx, but the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx is the head coach of Team USA, Cheryl Reeve. Now, this was a pre-game media availability, so it was not post-game, when Reeve was asked a question about Caitlin Clark and what does she need to do to be on Team USA next time. And Reeve said, quote, "Why the hell would I answer a national team question? I'm wearing Lynx, and I'm the head coach of the national team, but I'm not the chair of the committee. Anybody want to venture into anything else?" Dude, how defensive people are with Caitlin Clark. Like, it's one thing if players maybe had that edge, and you can understand jealousy from players that have been there, done that, maybe won a WNBA title, have done stuff in the game for a while, to see Caitlin Clark get all this fanfare. But if you haven't noticed, you need to know that she is the difference maker. She's the needle mover for women's basketball right now. And for the head coach of Team USA to be that defensive about it, that does show you how much conversation, how much back and forth they've probably had in regards to when they were putting that team together.
Yep.
Caitlin Clark, yes or no?
I think, too, you expect maybe the players, like you just said, to maybe get that way. You do not want your coach getting that defensive. I mean, what do you want out of a coach? You probably want some poise and some ability to handle pressure and maybe not get flustered by something like hey, I have another Caitlin Clark question. And, like, I get there's a tipping point for everybody. There's a straw that breaks every camel's back. They've all in the WNBA been asked probably what seems like 1 million questions each about Caitlin Clark. And that's, it sounds like she was just there because she went on to say other things too. And it wasn't just that one answer you just had. Like, I'm reading the article now, and then there were some other comments that are bleeped out of the of the text that I'm reading even. So she got really defensive, and you don't want that out of your head coach. At this point, though, you got to, as best you can, ride it out.
How are you not ready for that?
Yeah. And
Caitlin Clark,
you're so close
is in Minnesota. You are the head coach of the national team. There's going to be a lot of questions. And by the way, this was pre-game.
Yep.
So this wasn't post-game where,
like, after a loss.
By the way, they lost.
They
to
did.
Caitlin Clark in the
before
Fever.
That, yeah.
And the crowd was pro Clark and Fever at the end of the game in Minnesota. But this was pregame. This is when you ask that question.
This is I wrote about it a couple times during the Lobo basketball season. There were times where fans were yelling at Jalen House 30, 40 minutes before the game, saying horrible things to him while he was warming up. Jalen House was in their head even before the game started. Caitlin Clark was in this coach's head even before the game started, and they lost.
The Indiana Fever got a fever. They need more cowbell, but the Caitlin Clark question isn't going away. You got to be prepared for it. And Team USA, guess what? Caitlin Clark's not on the roster, and that's the thing you're going to be asked about the most, even when you show up in Paris in a couple weeks, is about Caitlin Clark. It's opening drive. JJ Buck, Jeff Grammer here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the sports animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, ripped, plastered, taint, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, You shouldn't be driving.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Like this, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman!
This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh?
I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom.
Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight.
Boom. Boom.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
In New York City, we take less money. But when you take less money, does that hurt everyone else? The new Batman in New York is the New York Knicks point guard. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. What it do? Good Monday morning. Thank you for tuning in to the Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by Jeff Grammer, the Albuquerque Journal, Bobcat holding it down, Adrian on ProView Networks. Appreciate everyone and all of you this morning. So the news that came out over the weekend is Jalen Brunson signed an extension, and you're just waiting going, oh man, this is going to be big money. Look at the deals that Jaylen Brown signed last year. Jason Tatum, we're talking $250, $300 million. And then you're like, wait, Jalen Brunson agreed to a 4-year, $156 million contract extension. Yeah, that's big money, but guess what? That is not superstar money in the NBA. Jalen Brunson left $113 million on the table to sign this extension. The deal will begin next year. It was going to cost Brunson about $37 million over the next 3 years each season, but it sets him up to recoup that money. He could sign a 4-year, get this, $323 million deal, or a 5-year, $418 million deal in 2029, of course, if he just keeps playing at the high level for the New York Knicks. But that's a long time from now.
He's a guy that had a great year this past year. There's no question about that. I am shocked that he did this, because I don't know if he's at a level right now where he knows that in a couple of years he's going to be able to recoup that money, like you said. Yeah. Yes, he can, and he can make a ton in a couple of years. But he hasn't put together 3 or 4 years of what he did last year.
Just think about a $400 million player is coming, and it's not an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. The amount of money he left on the table. Look, we talk NIL. These are two different worlds. It is pro sports and it is college sports, which is morphing into pro sports. We get all that. You don't see these discounts from players very often. And the reason is it doesn't make sense. Some people call it selfish. It's not. You still have, I get that we're talking money that most people listening to this show right now are never going to see. We're never going to see. What's the difference between 80 million and 85 million, right? Like, we're splitting hairs once you're in that kind of realm. But who doesn't fight for every dollar they can get when it's on the table? Not only does it affect him, and he and his family are not going to get the money that maybe he could have on the table right now, but the players union that he is a part of doesn't like when players give discounts like this. And some people may say, who cares what the players union thinks? Well, the players union is what fights for the minimum contracts, right? The guys at the low end, when a former Lobo, Alex Kirk, makes the Cleveland Cavaliers roster for half a season, how much money did he make? And then he had to go overseas and all that. There's a whole lot of people that are affected by little things like players giving back money to the owners. And there's a constant struggle between players and owners. And when the players give this much of a discount, there's a lot of other players who don't like it. And there's a reason for that. Maybe the fan doesn't care. Maybe the fan doesn't need to get into the weeds that much with all this stuff. But it does affect a whole lot of other things other than, man, a lot of people see this and say, man, that's really cool that he did that.
Yeah, the fans think that because now they feel that, oh, this is the investment. It's why you can get Mikal Bridges. It's why they signed OG Anunoby, trying to keep this Villanova New York Knicks team together for the next few seasons. But there's a point. That's why in contract negotiations, and especially in the NFL, the next one is usually the biggest one, especially if we're talking about the quarterback position, is you're trying to raise that floor, you're trying to raise that minimum salary, the franchise tag. But if you look at this move from Jalen Brunson, like, that is a major savings. What was it, a week or two ago when LeBron signed? And they're like, oh, we took like $500,000 less so they wouldn't be in the second apron. This is in a different stratosphere than that. And so if you're the Knicks, you have to then back this up and keep investing into that roster when Brunson steps back and gives you this huge.
And they're still not the Celtics, mind you.
No, and and if you look at this team in the Eastern Conference, Boston is the one that fascinates me. Is how are they going to keep it up? Because what we've seen kind of in the NBA the last couple of seasons, it's almost a shift from when we're talking about super teams and trying to put 3 players together. It was like superstar duos, and you build around it. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray last year, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, LeBron, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, we're back
Giannis,
to death, though.
Dame. But so it kind of went from, we saw the 3 to 2 and then build from there.
Yeah.
As you look at Phoenix, and when that Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, all in on Bradley Beal, they didn't have enough around him, and that's what I think is fascinating now is you have Brunson saying, "Hey, I'm focused on depth.
It's all about
for
depth.
my team,
he wants
as
a 6 or
opposed
7 man
to
roster.
2 of us getting all the money." And that's what fascinates me about the Celtics is because you have 2 of those guys getting all the money.
Yeah,
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are max contracts, and so how 2-3 years from now, what's that team like?
Well, and that's the reason Boston was so good this year is, yes, they had the 2 superstars. They were able to, even with 2 guys getting paid what they're getting paid, and they got some money this year in the offseason since the championship already, Tatum. Anyway, they were able to do it with depth, even though they are paying 2 of their guys that much, and they got away with it, right? But yeah, that's not going to be the same.
Jalen's, I think, kicked in this year, then Tatum's, or they hadn't kicked into the full max
No,
yet.
no.
So that's why
Tatum
you
didn't get paid this
had
past
Drew
season.
Holiday.
Yeah.
That's why I had Kristaps Porzingis.
And I just think that there's kind of a shift now back toward away from the three, like you said, away from the three. Every super team has to have three superstars, and then there were just the duo. But now I do think there's going to be a shift towards trying to find a little more balance or depth, like 6-7 man, even into the bench. I think Phoenix is a good example of why I think teams are afraid to go to the 2 or 3 superstar approach, because if one superstar kind of falls off in any way, and Bradley Beal, you could say did. I think you can say it because he did. He didn't exactly deliver the way they thought he would. Bradley Beal, if one of 3 fall off, you're in a really bad spot. You can't pay just 2 or 3 guys like that anymore. I do think we're in an era now where you better have some role players and some specialty role players that can do a specific thing, like lock. You need one lockdown defender. You need a Drew Holiday, right? You need one guy on your roster that can do one thing very specifically. You do need the shooter. Back to the old roster management, roster building days of instead of just getting the 3 best players you can possibly afford, I think you have to start piecing together what each player does with the other players on the roster.
Yeah, and you look at the Eastern Conference, are the Knicks the second best team?
Probably, well, yeah, well, let me make sure I'm not.
Well, you just think, all right, I think Boston, yeah, they hold
still
that
won
spot because they have that group together. Their starting 5 is still there. And Kristaps Porzingis comes back. That'll be an interesting storyline to watch second half of the season when he works his way in. And then there's question marks because
everywhere else, yeah.
The Philadelphia, they're better with Paul George, but is Joel Embiid going to be there in the postseason? We have that question every single year.
Indiana and Milwaukee both. I mean, I think Milwaukee could be back.
Milwaukee should be number 2 with Giannis, because I still think Giannis is that level of player in the league. And the year of working through it with Damian Lillard, piecing that roster together. But I think the Knicks, the moves that they made, the decision by Jalen Brunson, it has them as, if I'm looking at these teams, knowing that I can't trust Philadelphia in the postseason because we have a long enough track record of that, I want to put the Knicks there at number 2. I think the Pacers are really exciting, but they also were a 6th seed, and I think they're going to be more of the same. It's just this high-octane team that it's all or nothing with them, all gas, no brakes. Then you think about Cleveland, Orlando, that were playoff teams, kind of in the 5-6 range. I don't see them taking a huge step forward. So I do think that the Knicks has solidified themselves as a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference.
They're certainly, I think they've solidified themselves as a 2nd-tier team to Boston. I actually think Milwaukee, at full health, might still be. Well, I guess it depends on Giannis. If Giannis is at his best, I still think Milwaukee and Boston are tier 1. And then when you say New York has solidified themselves as a top 3, I think they're in that 2nd tier, depending on how good Philly actually meshes. Is Joel Embiid going to actually play? Which is always a question. And if Indiana makes any kind of improvement, they were there, but
I could see them being better than Cleveland and Orlando throughout a whole season.
But but New York might be number 3.
It's that jump, because you're right. Boston is alone above everyone else. I think Milwaukee could catch them because I think Giannis is that type of guy.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's Boston ... everyone else in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
I was going to say, I do think that Brunson doing what he did allows them to close the gap a little bit, and that's great. That's what you want out of a star. I just don't know if he's that level. I don't want to disrespect Jalen Brunson, but I don't know if he's going to get the money.
Well, maybe he's not worried about necessarily recouping that, as opposed to maybe he understands that. As the franchise, the Knicks, this is our window right now.
He's also never going to have to buy a dinner in New York again. Like Knicks fans, he's getting taken care of, and this helps that. His reputation.
So I think there might be a balance. With Brunson he was fantastic last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, when we talk about who you're starting your franchise with, Jalen Brunson's not in that conversation.
Right.
So I think that's the balance. He said, yeah, I could go get this bag from New York because they love me right now. He put up the numbers in the postseason, but maybe there is the other side of him understanding that.
Who's going to pay him that? Who else?
Yeah.
Maybe nobody else was going to pay him the same kind of money.
Or the understanding of, yeah, I'm playing my best basketball right now, but this is what I need these guys here to capitalize on this moment, as opposed to getting that bag. And then after this season, his boy, White Dante is gone.
Yep.
They can't keep Mikal Bridges around. And then he's looking around going, oh, it's just me and Mitchell Robinson now.
The window, as they say, is a pretty small one for most pro teams. And maybe he sees that window is right now. He doesn't want to mess that up by jeopardizing what they can, squeeze through that window along with him.
505-246-0610. That is the Sports Animal Hotline, the Sports Animal text line this morning. So Jalen Brunson takes a pay cut. The New York Knicks, where do they sit in the Eastern Conference? The Villanova Knicks moving forward. But Summer League action over the weekend, and now that the deal is signed after being drafted, the conversation about development is happening for this player. What does it mean? We'll dive into that next. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, I'm Steve Stucker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Your surprisingly great rates? Contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh?
I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom.
Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight.
Boom. Boom.
Well, taking a pay cut. Ken hit me up on the Twitter, and he said that it was an article he was reading that Brunson was referencing Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes taking pay cuts. Well, yeah, pay cut for Patrick Mahomes still means he had, $500 million contract agreed to. But it is the edges. And I think with the changes the NBA has made, a term that you've heard and you still have no idea what it means, and I'm there with you, second apron. Yeah. Second apron. The luxury tax was the thing. Now it's aprons in the league, which are pretty much just penalties for being over a salary cap. So what's the point of having a salary cap if you can go over the salary cap? Well, that's the NBA, and the Jalen Brunson deal gives New York a lot of flexibility with his extension, leaving $113 million on the table. But you're not going to see many more stars cut on the edges. And then also, if this team's not in the NBA Finals, if this team loses in the first round, if loses in the second round, how does Jalen Brunson start feeling then about giving up that much money?
Does this take pressure off him? Does it put more pressure on him? I don't know. Probably takes pressure off him. But yeah, the reality is, like, making this decision is because you believe the window is now, right? So maybe in that regard, it puts some pressure on him. We'll see. I will point out, though, that I have heard the Tom Brady and the Patrick Mahomes kind of comparisons, that those guys took less money to build around them. Yeah, those guys, the less money those two guys took isn't quite the same stratosphere as this, because they already had a lot of money, and B, still got a whole lot of money. Jalen Brunson hasn't been getting paid superstar money. He's doing just fine. He's not like meal to meal kind of paycheck to paycheck, kind of guy. But he's a guy that left a lot of money on the table and didn't already have in the bank what those guys had in the bank. So
money in the bank must be nice, but that's why you paid for your talents. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal this morning. Bobcat holding it down, 505-246-0610, Sports Animal hotline and text line this morning. So NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. A lot of fun stories to watch over the weekend. The top NBA draft prospects out there playing. Of course, all eyes were also on Bronny James. And now that Rich Paul, his agent, Clutch Sports, they got it done. No surprise, Bronny James got drafted. He signed his guaranteed deal. With the Los Angeles Lakers. And now that they went through that process, now you can talk about player development. Now you can talk about maybe playing somewhere else. Bronny James was playing against the Houston Rockets, finished with 8 points, 3 of 14 shooting, 0 of 8 from 3. And you look at through 3 Summer League games, which goes back to the California Classic. So he played 2 in the California Classic and then 1 in the Vegas Summer League. Bronny James, 6 for 26 overall, 0 of 12 from 3. And he said after his Vegas Summer League appearance, quote, "I'm just looking forward to any basketball I play, no matter what level I'm playing at." So it's the first time Bronny, anyone from his camp, acknowledges, yeah, there was a whole lot of posturing. We get it. Your dad is LeBron James. We've really never been in this position in sports where you still have a player of that caliber with that kind of power, have a son in, like, that's good enough.
Yeah, Ken Griffey Sr. wasn't exactly throwing his weight around to get.
He didn't need this.
This is different.
Yeah,
The young son coming up isn't the superstar, can't miss kind of kid.
So LeBron threw his weight around to make sure Bronny got drafted. He got his contract. We understand that. Now they realize, and you have to have this conversation, like Bronny's sitting on the end of the Lakers bench, even practicing with that team all the time. He's not going to get better.
Yeah.
Like the dude just has to play 5-on-5 basketball.
Yeah, and that's where he's at right now. And he's not going to do that on the Lakers bench. That is what the G League is there for. Remember a year ago, but before he was even at USC, a year ago, LeBron James was making comments that his son Bronny was, better than some of the guards in the league already. Maybe that still holds true, but he hasn't played a whole lot of minutes. He did miss a lot of last year's preseason because of his heart. He's a guy that frankly hasn't logged a lot of minutes yet at high level basketball. He was at a high level AAU and club level and in high school and that kind of stuff. But he just hasn't logged a lot of minutes, and he needs that. He's not going to get that on the Lakers bench. He will get it in the G League. And make no mistake, if he's in the G League, he won't be a guy that plays 18 minutes. He'll be a guy that plays 28 minutes and 30 minutes. He'll get some run in the G League. And I envision that's where he spends most of the season.
It's where he should just get a chance to play basketball. And I think this was a tough situation for Bronny because, your dad is LeBron James. He said some things that people are going to trash him and then trash you about. The comment you just referenced, like his kid is better than some NBA guards. Or I don't think it was a crazy comment when LeBron was like, I want to play basketball with my kid. Oh, okay. But you got to understand the added pressure that comes with that. Right. The scrutiny is already going to be there because you're LeBron James and it's 50-50. People hate you or people root for you. We understand that's where we're at. It's not changing with LeBron James. And then you put that on Bronny, and then you get him drafted by the Lakers. You get him a guaranteed deal because the only reason the Lakers did that is because of LeBron James. We all understand that. And then you're trying to spin it like, no, that's not what happens. Bronny's earned that in the press conference. We get it. It's okay if you acknowledge it. But now you're going through the realization of, probably not going to get to just sit on the Lakers bench all season. And for Bronny,
I can't imagine
the stuff like does that. And this is where, when people say, Bronny needs to do his own thing. That's got to be really hard to all of a sudden just push away from people that you like. Right. LeBron has been a supporting, we see everything in the public eye.
Yeah.
But it feels like LeBron hasn't forced anything on his kids. There's that gigantic shadow of being LeBron James.
He's coached. He's been to all Bronny and Bryce, his other sons, AAU games. He goes to a lot of them.
If you're Bronny, it feels like as all as we know, there's a good relationship there. So to then all of a sudden just say, no, I'm not going to do any of this. Let me work out for everybody. He only worked out for the Lakers and the Suns. To then all of a sudden just have this massive boom, I'm going to go do my own thing now. Man, this is a lot. But just for him actually playing G League basketball and just playing, I think that would just be good.
So I agree with you. I think he needs to play G League. He needs to get a lot of minutes. He needs to get better and kind of see where he's at. But that's also the risk. If he does play big minutes in the G League and it's clear he doesn't deserve to be in the NBA, then what do you do? Right now, you can still kind of say, well, he didn't play much and he missed that preseason at USC. It wasn't a good fit, whatever. But now if he goes to the G League and he is in the Lakers organization, remember these G League teams are maybe not to the exact same level that a AAA baseball team is following pitch counts and following exactly what the big league team says. Maybe they're not quite to that extent, but essentially they are doing what the big league team, what the Lakers tell them to do. And if he then doesn't shine in that setup, then how can you justify then bringing him up to the Lakers roster? He will play on the Lakers this year at some point, right? But I think the only risk, the only downside is if he does do the G League
at some point in time, they can't hide him.
Yeah, they can't hide him forever. He's got to play at some point, right? And I do think that the risk right now is that if he does go to the G League and he's awful there, then he's already exposed before they want him to be exposed.
505-246-0610, Sports Animal hotline and text line this morning. When we come back on the other side, no expansion yet. What does that mean for college basketball and March Madness. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, rip, plastered, destroyed, brah. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in Burquia. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you. I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Spell, get ready!
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma, my brother, my tutor, my dad, and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all.
From 4 till 7 on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
They needed to see the man's face. Now if you tune in on ProView, full view of Jeff Grammer, not blocking his face anymore. He is a superstar. The man needs to be seen. Do not hide your face with the microphone.
I usually reserve this only for my OnlyFans subscribers, but now you get to see.
You get a little free. It's what you want. You want to give them a little free taste, just so they'll come back for more.
I know how to sell. I know how to sell. It's a little bit of a taste, and yeah, like I said, that's G Grammer at OnlyFans. I don't know how that works, but yeah.
Well, you can check out the man, of course, one of the best follows on social media when it just comes to sports in Albuquerque and New Mexico, out West athletics, at Jeff Grammer on the Twitter. Of course, the Talking Grammer podcast and everything else he's got going on with the Albuquerque Journal. So we always appreciate the time that we get to have Jeff on the radio with us because, you know, we do try to work together, the Journal and, of course, Cumulus Media here, share some resources and talent, the key.
Yeah. Talent,
loosely. Air quotes. Yeah, loosely. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. So no expansion yet when it comes to the NCAA basketball tournament. So the committee, men's basketball committee last week, they're doing their meetings. They wrapped up midweek and they did not expand. So it's not a 72, 74, 76 team field. It is still a 68 team tournament. But raise your hand if you think they're going to expand.
Yeah,
it's happening. We know it's going to happen. They're still working through some things. I thought it was interesting when I was reading the story on CBS Sports about it when they mentioned competitive balance. Like they were worried about competitive balance now all of a sudden. Like, well, what do you think is going to happen if you expand the tournament? You're probably going to have more play-in teams, so they're going to have to play those games. But what also came out of it is they're adding 2 more metrics to the team sheet. And as you know, I think people in this state, this listener fan base, understand team sheets.
Yep.
I've gotten really involved with it.
They may not like them, but they understand they exist.
They understand them.
These computer metrics are sort of what determine an awful lot in college basketball now, whether you like it or not. The reality is they're not that far off from any like other metric, even a traditionalist might use, which is just wins, losses for the most part. But anyway, the point being, I do think Bart Torvik it's a metric I love. I follow Bart Torvik a lot. That's one of the ones they added. Just for Lobo fans, it was one that was very kind to UNM this past year. In fact, UNM.
So that is, they say it's similar, like Ken Palm, but what does that mean too? Like
right. So the different. Well, I can tell you this: that Bart Torvik had UNM ranked number 1 in the Mountain West most of the season last year. I don't know that they finished there because I don't know how Bart Torvik treated the NCAA tournament. But UNM might have been the highest ranked Mountain West team last year in Bart Torvik. And then wins against, or WOB wins over bubble, which is sort of a metric that you come up with basically what you determine as a bubble team, like what their resume would look like in this imaginary bubble team, and how many wins, how you do against your schedule. How many wins would the average bubble team, or what would the record of an average bubble team be against that schedule? Are you better than what their imaginary bubble team is, or are you worse? And that's what they came up with. It's essentially, that is a metric geared at not allowing, frankly, what a UNM did the past couple of years, where they blew up wins wise in the non-conference. They went undefeated, one non-conference. But how do you rate what a really good record is compared to maybe a lesser record, but against a much better schedule, right? It's not just strength of schedule. It's a little bit different than that, but it's a metric really geared towards strength of schedule, essentially, but it is a little different.
So now on the NCAA team sheets, which the selection committee uses, that is a big part of how they put teams in the bracket. So you have pretty much 3 like predictive metrics and then 3 resume-based metrics, trying to balance it out. And I think it's good. I think the information with what we've seen, analytics and strength of schedule and the eye test, like, you have to have it, because the reality is, you are on an NCAA selection committee. You cannot watch that many basketball games. You can watch cutoffs, you can watch some clips. I know that some of them are designated like, hey, you watch this conference, that. So you have to have something that can bring so many teams together. And I do think that the kind of the flexibility, the changes, the acknowledgement of these metrics has been a positive for college basketball.
There's no way, you touched on it, there's no way to watch all the games. So what do you do from there? You just look at records? Of course not. You have to have something set up. But what I would hope the selection committee did more of, when they determine which ones of these analytics is most accurate or the best that they could possibly have, I wish then that they would trust that come March, right? And kind of abide by it a little more. And if you're saying that Torvik, and you're saying that the Ken Palms and the BPIs, or whatever metrics you choose to put in this team sheet formula and to use, then trust it. Because what I don't like is changing it as you go. I think it was very unfair to the Mountain West. I have no reason to say this. Like, I don't get paid more for championing the
no checks
Mountain
coming
West,
in from Colorado Springs.
The Mountain West cause here, but it's ridiculous that you say these metrics are what we base everything on, and then kind of midstream change that, because the Mountain West deserved better seeding last year based on every metric except one, and that's BPI, which has a metric, or has part of their formula that limits how good a win can be for any team that plays at a certain elevation. To penalize a team for elevation is like to penalize so you're not penalizing the team because they play at that elevation. What you're doing actually is making it easier for the teams that play them at that elevation that aren't used to it. You're trying to say, well, it's unfair for them to go play there. In football, you don't do that in the South when it's humid and the field temperature is 120, and you see those little thermometer shots at a lot of these football games. They don't do that in football. They don't do that in any other sport. When the NCAA says, here are our schools, you guys go make a schedule and play each other, you don't then penalize or limit the success of a team based on their geography, right? And there's one formula that does that. It's ESPN's BPI formula. And for some reason, it was weighed more heavily this past year than any other year. And it happens to be in a year when the Mountain West's metrics and every other metric were at their all-time best. And there could have been 6 teams that got really good seeds and all of that, and it didn't happen. Now, then you could say, well, they got into the tournament and look, they lost. Well, yeah, they as a very underseeded, playing teams better than they should have. Not many losses to worse seeded teams. When you play a higher seeded team and you lose, I mean, is that an upset? I don't know. So I just wish when they come up with these formulas and they come up with these metrics that they're saying these are the ones that count, then I wish those were the ones that did count.
Yeah, the altitude one, when I was learning about that last year, that's wild to me that they factor that in actually heavily in any metric.
Yeah.
Like they like to play it up like when you go to the pit or you're playing in Laramie, other places, but you're playing a game. Like, honestly, how many games do you watch in the second half? You're like, well, that's the altitude. Yeah. It's not many. Yeah, athletes get tired in the second half, but the BPI one is definitely fascinating because that blew my mind.
Yeah, and a few years back, of all people, Scott Van Pelt of ESPN was on social media. Somebody was criticizing ESPN about the BPI and saying, why is it so geared anti-Mountain West? Because they don't have the TV contract. And Van Pelt said, that's ridiculous. It's not anti-Mountain West. And I kind of chimed in, and me and Van Pelt had a couple exchanges. And I didn't know at the time that it was actually, it literally has a factor about elevation. I just said, look, the numbers show that every other metric shows the Mountain West is generally at this level higher than what the ESPN's BPI metric has it, which is lower. I don't think it's a TV contract thing, but there's something there. And Van Pelt said, no, that's ridiculous. Well, it turns out there was something. There was something built into the formula, and it's altitude. It's not about the Mountain West Conference per se, but why is it called Mountain West? It's because a lot of the teams are in the mountains. Yeah. So there you go.
505-246-0610 Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. We come back on the other side. What have we learned about it? What changes will we see moving forward? As we know, the Lobos amped up their non-conference schedule. Are we going to see that from the rest of the conference to try to find some consistency, to try to keep making conference play as meaningful as it was and being a multi-bid league moving forward? It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by Staples.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Hi, I'm Steve Stucker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Evergard Roofing and Solar. For nearly 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been working with New Mexicans to enhance their homes and businesses. For all your roofing and solar needs in New Mexico, call 505-821-9543. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, ripped, plastered, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in Burquerque. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong.
Next at 10 on 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal.
Well, it was a gut punch when you heard the NCAA Selection Committee chair say that the Lobos were a bid stealer because they won the Mountain West Conference, winning 4 games in 4 days. It was an unbelievable run in Las Vegas, capping off a fun season for Lobo basketball. But then you hear, yeah, they were a bid stealer. They would not have been in the NCAA tournament had they not won the Mountain West tournament. And you're just like, oh, how is that possible? With what they did, the strength of the Mountain West Conference, and look at all these other conferences, and that's what they hang their hat on. They go, hey, conference play is good. We have a ton of quality games. Look at the teams. Well, the Lobos heard that. Richard Pitino and his staff addressed that. So what does that mean for next season? It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal. We were just discussing some of the changes that the NCAA has made when it comes to team sheets. They added 2 more metrics to the team sheet. So you have 6 metrics overall. And definitely UNM, specifically Richard Pitino, it's him and his staff that put the schedule together. They took that to heart. And they added to their non-conference schedule. And I know you have a lot more March conversations than I do right now with these coaches. When you look at the non-conference schedule for the Lobos, was it really just about strength of schedule, or is there anything else specifically that they were trying to do with it?
Get out of the pit a little bit, which is a really, really tough one for a program like UNM that still makes money on home basketball games, right? So they got out of the pit, not necessarily true road games. Now, the St. John's game is a true road game, even though it's Madison Square Garden, but it is a true road game for playing St. John's, which will be a preseason top 25 team probably. And the UCLA game is a neutral court game, and getting out of the pit to play some good opponents is important. I know Lobo fans want to see them play really good teams in the pit. There's just not really much benefit to good teams coming to the pit. It's a broken record at this point. Some people want to hear it. Some people don't want to hear it. Some people don't believe it. Some people understand it. But really good teams have no reason to come to the pit at this point. The winning percentage in non-conference play is just, it's too high. People don't want to, good teams don't want to come here and risk a loss in the non-conference to a UNM team. But the reality is the Lobos do have a very tough non-conference schedule overall. It's one that I know Richard Pitino kind of keeps suggesting is the toughest ever. I don't think he's far off. I don't think he's right. I do think that there's at least one other. I can do some more research and maybe find one in the 70s or something. We
need more stuff from you, Jeff. Come on.
Right. Let's do more. I will say that, and I will hat tip here to Steve Kirkland, who kind of let me know about the one year that probably is in contention. And once I looked at it, I think it is clearly tougher overall. 1988. And that was the year the Lobos beat number 1 Arizona in the pit in the non-conference, back when such games still happened in non-conference play. And that year they also played, Oklahoma. They played several what are now considered power conference teams. They played a lot of really good teams. I think that year had a tougher non-conference schedule. But this year is in the conversation for one of the toughest overall non-conference schedules in Lobo basketball history. There's some context there, and this isn't meant as an insult. It's meant as factual, historical basis kind of commentary. The Lobos, long before Richard Pitino, long before Paul Weir, Craig Neal, even Steve Alford, this has never been, UNM has never been a program that played tough non-conference schedules. They have had a cupcake tradition and history and reputation for a reason. They play 1 or 2 decent opponents in the non-conference. That's really all they've ever done. And this year, though, very tough non-conference schedule. I'd be shocked if they get out of non-conference with fewer than 3 losses, maybe 4. And but that doesn't mean they can't be better than they were last year.
It doesn't mean that your March Madness dreams are over.
No, it probably helps, in fact.
505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line. Some of those players that lived the March Madness stream, well, they are back in town. They'll be playing at the Pit tomorrow night. The TBT, the Enchantment, the Lobo alumni. We'll dive into that and some of the names that you might have forgotten about. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta. So stop by and see us today at Fiesta Kia on Lomas, or just start driving now at fiestakia.com.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, I'm Steve Stucker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Cross-Camara here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready.
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma, my brother, my tutor, my dad, and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
Now, voted the best sports show in New Mexico for 5 years running. It's the OD in the AM with 3-time New Mexico Sportscaster of the Year, Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck.
Well, they always say the dog days of summer, but you can find something to talk about, which, of course, when you tune into the opening drive, we have you covered 365 days here. Wait a second, we don't work that many days. I know we don't, because Jeff Symbieta is not here. It happens, but we always fill a Jeff with the Jeff. Jeff Graham, Albuquerque Journal, join us this morning. JJ Buck with you, Bobcat, holding it down. What a day it was yesterday. We're talking trophies in July. Copa America goes to Argentina, but really the storyline was the disaster around Hard Rock Stadium, Miami, people climbing the fences, people going into ventilation ducts trying to get into the stadium. It was cray-cray. You had Spain winning the Euros, beating England to go 7-0, cap off a fantastic tournament there at Wimbledon. Women's final on Saturday, the men's final yesterday. Alcaraz does it again over Djokovic. So titles being handed out. And then, oh, by the way, some fun stuff right here in Albuquerque this week. What it do? Thank you for tuning into the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. And I'm looking forward to really getting a couple conversations for you recorded and on the air tomorrow as the Enchantment. Of course, the team that, if you don't know, now you know, plays in the basketball tournament, a winner-take-all $1 million tournament that gets former players together. A lot are alumni-based and others are based around causes. And the Enchantment are going to be playing an exhibition game tomorrow night in the pit against some Lobo alumni. And when you look at this TBT team, head coached by Kenny Thomas, our good friend of the show. You're talking about, J.R. Giddens, Anthony Mathis, Troy Simons, Isaac Mushila, and then they branched out. Scott Bamforth has been a dude on the squad for the last couple seasons. You have Christian Cunningham, Joey Brunk, LG Gill, I mentioned Isaac Mushila, Jacob Wiley. So you also, you play to win the game, even when you have the connection as an enchantment, the New Mexico alumni. But then you look at the Lobo alumni that they're going to scrimmage against, and man, Chad Adams, Abacha Jet, Daniel Ferris, Amaya Brown is going to be playing the game. Of course, the Albuquerque kid played at Cibola, went to Florida State, played her senior year for the Lobo women's basketball team. Jamal Fenton, Nate Garth, Drew Scary, AJ Hardiman, Derek Thompson, Allison Kirk. It's all over the place. But Jeff, when you look at this event and kind of what it's become, I really think it is a great showcase and just what athletics can do, and just to be able to bring this many people back in one moment. It's not easy to do, but at least to have that many people say, yes, we'll come back and participate in this.
Yeah, no, I think, first of all, the exhibition tomorrow night in the pit, go get your tickets. It's not just for if you're a Lobo fan. If you're into college athletics, there is some nostalgia here that I think even non-Lobo fans would be just in mid-July, you would enjoy going to watch, right? This enchantment team is current, they are all playing professionally, and they are all right now playing really high level basketball, not NBA level, but really high level basketball, and is a good roster. I do think that the name power, the star power is on the alumni team. But some of those guys haven't played for a while, right? Some of them aren't really as active right now. So we'll see what you get out of them. I'm really excited, to be honest. I'm really excited to see this 3-point contest. Obviously, you got a topper on the alumni team, and anytime you got a topper, you're gonna be in contention for a 3-point contest. But just on the enchantment, there's 3 guys I really want to see in the 3-point contest: Anthony Mathis, Bryce Alford, and Scott Bamforth. Now, just pure shooter, Bamforth isn't quite to the level of Anthony Mathis and Bryce Alford, but there isn't anybody who really gets hot and streaky quite like Bamforth. And when he is on one of those roles, he hits everything. He might be better with somebody in his face than anybody in this contest, and might be better off having someone defend him during the 3-point contest, because he can hit then. But I will say that I'm really looking forward to seeing Anthony Mathis, Bryce Alford, Scott Bamforth, Chad Topper in the 3-point contest. I'm probably missing somebody. I mean, obviously Roman Martinez will probably participate, but I think that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and what I like about this too, Scott Bamforth, learning his story over the last couple of years was awesome. A Del Norte kid, what he did, ending up at Weber State,
lost his parents. Yeah,
just his life story. His family now playing overseas. Like, it's been fun to reconnect and then learn about a lot of these players, and especially look at the alumni team. You mentioned the name recognition there. A lot of these guys are coaching right now, and they're coaching in this community, and they're giving back. You look at Jamal Fenton, Drew Scary, Darren Prentice. Just off the top of my head, I know for sure. Been working with kids, or even over at ABC Prep, Chris Perez has stuck around, and that's really cool to see.
I think it'll be there will be moments, just like any game, once you get on the court, that it'll be a highly competitive thing. I do think overall it'll be fun. Nobody wants to get hurt right before a tournament, all that kind of good stuff. But I think it'll be fun. I think people will enjoy it, and I think you should come out and watch it if you get the opportunity. Throw in not only that it's an exhibition to prepare this enchantment team for the TBT, which starts on Friday, but there's also some honoring of some Lobo legends. As most Lobo fans know, most people listening know by now, there have been 3 Lobos that died unexpectedly at very young ages in the past 3 months. Ruben Douglas at the age of 44 died in Costa Rica in April. Drew Gordon died in a car crash right outside of Portland at the age of 33 or 2 months ago now. And just last month, Greg Brown, just west of Albuquerque, in a car crash at the age of 51. And those aren't just 3 former Lobos. There was another Lobo, Andre McGee, who also died. I know splitting hairs and don't need to get into to all that, but there have been people that pointed out there's 4 Lobos when you that have died in recent months. When you talk about like the stature though of Ruben Douglas, a former national scoring champion, you talk about Drew Gordon, who was I believe Jamal Franklin won it that year, but like Drew Gordon in 2012, I think might have been the best player in the Mountain West, and they won the conference. Like I think Drew Gordon, who did play, had a cup of coffee in the NBA, but was at a high level overseas, and certainly a big part of his brother Aaron Gordon's success in the NBA with the Denver Nuggets. And then you talk about the Greg Brown, who at 5'7" was not only a local kid at Albuquerque High, won a state championship, went on to New Mexico Junior College, starred there, and then went on to UNM, where at 5'7" he was the WAC Player of the Year and won the Pomeroy Naismith Award for the best player in the country under 6 foot tall. These were 3 Lobo legends, and we use that term a lot. You know, talk about former Lobos, and we always say things like former Lobo star, even though they might not have been a star. These 3 guys were actually legitimately, no matter how you look at it, 3 of the best Lobos that ever played, and all 3 of them unexpectedly and at a very young age died in recent months. And this game tomorrow night, Tuesday night, is giving an opportunity to kind of remember them. A lot of their teammates will come back and honor them. Team Gordon, Team Douglas will be the names for tomorrow night of the 2 teams. There's an alumni team and the Enchantment team that'll be playing in TBT. But for the night, one will be Team Douglas, one will be Team Gordon, and then the 3-point contest will be called the Greg Brown 3-point contest. And I think it's good what they're doing. They're honoring legends of the past. They're coming together. Sometimes it takes tragedy to get people together like this. And there'll be a lot of talking about, we can't wait for tragedy to get together again like this. Whatever the reason being, tomorrow is the night that they're all together. So if you want to be a part of it, you should. It should be a good night. It should be a fun night. And a lot of the legends of Lobo basketball will be there. Michael Cooper is supposed to be coaching. He will be here and supposed to be coaching the alumni team. Kenny Thomas will be coaching the Enchantment team. So multiple eras of Lobo basketball will certainly be represented tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about the TBT is it's how it's morphed into getting a lot more alumni teams over the last few years, mixed in with the squads that we see are put together with a lot of overseas players. And for the New Mexico alumni team going right out there against Boise State, they got some names that recent history, I'm talking recent history, Max Rice, the battles that he had with the Lobos over the last few years. But then you look at, it's also a good reminder of what Leon Rice and Boise State has done over, it's not even the last few years, but we're talking, what is it now? Like,
he's the longest tenured coach now. Fisher's gone. I know Dutcher's been there since the beginning, but he was an associate head coach.
Guys that were, first team all conference, and
Derek Marks was player of the year.
Derek Marks was player of the year. Justinian Jessup, he was drafted.
Yep.
Right.
Golden State
picked him up, and they're going to be players that you see on the court in the TBT.
If you look at, let's see, I'm looking right now, 4 of the past 5 years. It looks like COVID maybe being the one exception. 4 of the past 5 years, Boise State's had been a 20-win team. Then before that, it was a stretch of 6 in a row. So you're up to 10 of the last 12 years. They've been a 20-win team under Leon Rice. COVID being one of the only 2 years they weren't. They're not only consistent, being a good team, but they are in league title contention the last several years, as well. Not just because of a fluke. It's because they're putting together good squads. They did dip into the transfer market the last couple of years a little more than they did in the past. And look, they're a good team. And Max Rice, for anybody that needs reminding, Max Rice in the pit was a pain. Nobody liked, no Lobo fan liked seeing Max Rice get the ball because even well defended,
throwing in everything.
No matter what, he didn't have to face the basket. He could be 30 feet away. It didn't matter. He was throwing everything in. He did one of those against San Diego State in a clutch moment too, in a late season game. And the last game of the season, I believe, for them, their Friday night, the last regular season game of the season. And he just throws in a buzzer beater, shot clock buzzer beater that was from 10 feet beyond the 3-point line and just broke their heart too. But anyway, Max Rice will be there. And Marcus Shaver's another guy that can give some fits. So I think it'll be a good game. I don't think it'll be an easy opening round game for the Lobos or for the Enchantment at all.
Yeah, and it's true, man. It's just a reminder, too. We were going through some of the rosters, and you look at Kentucky. We're talking Willie Cauley-Stein, Eric Bledsoe. We're going for like the all-name team, and then a bunch of dudes that got drafted. The Harrison twins were in the NBA for a little bit. Daniel Orton, Enes Kanter's brother, Kareem Kanter, playing on that team. And that's the fun of it. You can also think back. There's some nostalgia involved with the TBT. 505-246-0610. That's Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. The talking isn't done. It's SEC Media Days. And how does one of the greats feel about being on the other side? We'll get into that next. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Congratulations to Jeff Sim.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
A burglary takes place in the United States approximately every 15 seconds. International Protective Service is your answer for commercial and residential security in all of Albuquerque. IPS will work with your monitoring company for fast, reliable response times. You can rest easy knowing you, your family, or your company is watched over by International Protective Service. Call International Protective Service today.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, rip, plastered, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Hi, I'm Steve Stucker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction.
It is always funny when they make the transition. When you go from the light side to the dark side. And the dark side is all the talking heads, all of us that are asking questions, probing, breaking things down, dropping the hot takes, and then you become one of us. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. It's JJ Buck, joined by Jeff Grammer. Albuquerque Journal, Bobcat Holding It Down. You can also check us out on ProView Networks. Adrian doing a good job over there. When the coaches, the players become a member of the media, the battles, the back and forth. Don't you be dropping that rat poison on my team. And now you're one of us. Bill Belichick, I mean, inside the NFL and all over the place this year. And Nick Saban, we saw it last year. But Nick Saban, but to the realization of life has changed. Yes, you're Nick Saban. Yes, you're still a legend in the SEC. But even you, sir, have to get a credential.
That's right. That's right. I want to see, I'll tell you what, now that Nick Saban is, one of us, he's just
like us now.
Just like us, just a media member, just like us. I want to see him in a media scrum with holding a recorder, sticking his recorder into the big group while some coach or player talks and trying to shout over some of the TV guys to get a question in, something like that. And, have a player or coach kind of no comment him. That would be awesome. Because he's just one of us now and hanging out in the media room. But he had his first, welcome to the media world moment today. I know a lot of people say, what was your welcome to the SEC moment or your welcome to the NFL moment? Nick Saban had his welcome to the media moment today at SEC Media Days.
Had to get credentialed. And if there was one thing, being around coaches, traveling with teams, the thing that coaches hate is having to wear a credential or walking somewhere and actually being asked, do you belong?
So apparently this is what Nick said on the morning interview. He said, just talking about the difference between being a coach and being in the media and on SEC Media Days. He said, quote, "It's a little different. I've never worn a credential in my life and was always for 17 years able to get into SEC Media Day without a credential. I had to go back to the room today and get my credential to get in." And I guess it's actually something that even what's his name? The SEC commissioner, Brett Stuckey?
Greg Sankey?
Sankey. Had to address and say, yes, he did have to get credentialed and had to wear his credential as a member of the media. So, yes, Nick Saban is not just walking around SEC Media Day on his name anymore. He is now doing it with his name around his chest, and he has to wear that credential.
Just like one of us. Welcome to the club. I'm interested to see, too, Bill Belichick, because it's been, we kind of saw it with Tom Brady once he got out of New England, and you saw more of him. We'll see Tom Brady in the spotlight now as the lead announcer on Fox for the NFL coverage, but just the evolution of these guys after the fact. And I thought Bill Belichick, when he was hanging out with Pat McAfee doing the NFL draft coverage, it was some good stuff, good insight. And we'll look at how these guys transition to the dark side. That is the media.
It'll be interesting to see. So I will say this, some coaches and players have maybe even gone out of their way to go over the top and be critical, to sort of prove that I'm not going to be afraid to do this. And I think some have been soft and continue to be soft.
Yeah.
We'll see what Nick Saban does.
And also, we talk about the coaches becoming a media. Guess what? You know what we can do again? This is the week EA Sports drops college football back into our lives. And this has been one of the biggest stories on sports social media. Or if you're anyone that grew up with the NCAA football franchise, the fact that it's back this week, it's real when we just spent a couple of minutes talking about, are we going to be able to do this? Is this going to be too much? Building a dynasty, investing into a college football franchise, because this is the world we grew up in. And by the way, Colin Cowherd, you can still play video games and be successful at what you do.
You can also wear your hat backwards.
Win football games. But this is a real question this week, man. People are excited about the drop of EA Sports College Football 25.
If you've never played EA Sports college football and don't quite get what the buzz is about all this, the way apparently they've built this kind of reboot, it's not just football games. Now you can just play football games, and that's fine. You can still have fun with that, which is probably about what I'm going to be able to do, because I'm a little worried about some of the other bells and whistles that they put in this thing.
Or that they have NIL in the game. The transfer portals in the game.
They have this recruiting and team builder and all this stuff that you can do in addition to just playing football games. It is everything. And it is recruiting a high school player and making sure you send your defensive coordinator to visit him, and making sure you send your position coach to visit these recruits in the off season and during the season. And you have to do all this stuff in some of these modes that is like a real football team, like a real football program. And it's going to be interesting, man. Like I'm telling you, I made the comment to you, some of these people that dove into this game 10, 15, even 20 years ago, that when it was getting really, really big in the late 90s and the early 2000s, when it started growing into what it was until it had to go away because of the NIL world, like those people now are 20 years older, right? 10 years older, 15 years older. And you would think all have jobs and families, and we'll see how much time all these college kids, I'm thinking to myself and my college roommate at the time, how many classes we missed. If, you know, I know that might shock some of you, but down at New Mexico State, I missed a few classes every now and then. And we were playing stupid video games a lot. And it was this video game that we missed way too many classes playing. So it'll be interesting to see how many of the people that have like responsibilities now that think they're just going to dive back into it.
Yeah, just be able to turn it on and play for 4 hours.
Yeah, 4-hour chunks of time playing a video game.
Not going to be a lot of sleep, because that's the only time you can play. I'm like, all right,
absolutely.
Kid goes to bed at 9. I got to finish the show prep, and then you're like, all right, 10:30 to when?
Yeah,
and then but then I got to sleep. And
the show starts at 7 a.m. So
and I still have to function the next day. But this is huge. It seems niche, but it's a lot bigger than that, because college football returning, it's also returning because of the change we've seen in the landscape.
Yeah, it's symbolic to what the changes, like you said, in the sport overall.
Because it's returning because of name, image, and likeness. So the players opted into the game. So EA Sports, it's, what was it? Is it like $400 or $500? Like, it wasn't a massive check, but they allowed players to opt into the game. Say, we will use your name, image, and likeness in this video game. So when you turn on the game, if you're a Lobo fan, Devin Dampier will be right there. And you don't have to customize them. You don't have to download the rosters like we all used to do in the past. Like, that is the Lobo football team that will be on the game. And so players could opt in. They got a fee and like free copy of the game. So this is symbolic of the changes in college athletics.
Even just getting a free copy of the game before would have been a violation.
Yeah, they couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But it's back because of, you know, the revenue that college athletes have generated, and now they're getting a little bit of a piece of the pie. So this is a huge thing for all of us that have played the game, for the new generation that's going to get to experience it, that have only been playing Madden football, because Madden has had a monopoly on the NFL since they bought the rights from the NFL, and then 2K went away. We could go, you know, do a whole podcast on this, which maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sports video game podcast. Trademark it right now. Let's do it. But this is like a big moment in college athletics, and all the teams are hyping it up. Lobo's been doing social media posts about it. And I think it is going to be a big thing when all these college athletes in the past used to be like, oh, look, I'm number 17, I'm number 87. No, like, now that is you in this game.
And I've done in my world, and as annoying as it can be, I put in records requests for things and IPRAs and stuff like that. And I did in fact ask New Mexico State and UNM for what they submitted to EA Sports, and for people again that don't know the detail and the lengths to which EA Sports went to, every FBS program sent in things like what they say on third down. Some schools on third down might say, or they might play. I think some schools do the Hell's Bells from AC/DC, right? Or the big whatever. Everything, every little tradition at every school, and what they do at a first down. Some schools say there's another Aggie first down at New Mexico State and stuff like that. All those little things, if you're playing in that stadium, you will see and hear all of that in the background, and some of the traditions and the fight songs. And for UNM, there is the hand gesture. You will see fans and close-ups of fans doing the proper hand gesture for the wolf, for the Lobo. And you will hear chants of everyone's a Lobo, woof, woof, woof. You will hear that from fans, and you won't hear that at any other stadium in this game. So they went the details and the lengths they went to make, just check every little box. Some schools have a whole lot more than UNM and NMSU, of course, but it was interesting to me. I know at NMSU, for instance, and this is because I happen to know the person that very well from my college years, the person that kind of signed off on some of this stuff. If you're familiar with Aggie Memorial Stadium, there's a big grass kind of patch in front of their Stan Fulton Center, which is where the training center is, and the athletic director and all that. And during games, some of the fraternities and sororities put their Greek letters there, but there's also a huge bell. Well, the first version that they were sending mock-ups to at New Mexico State just had a big green grass, and they didn't have the bell. And I know, I saw one email said, "Oh, do we still have time to get the big bell in there, or the cannon, rather, not the bell, the cannon that they fire off when they score some touchdowns?" And so little things like that, they were for every school. They were making sure that, in the end zone on that grass, they have everything right. If the tree was still there at UNM, they would make sure the tree
would be there.
The tree would be there, and it is not, so it will not be there. If it's in the game, it's in the game, is what they used to say. And this is it's a pretty big deal, not just for college football, but just for kind of what it represents in the college athletics world.
Yeah, no, it's one. If people are talking about video games, yeah, this is like a symbolic moment.
Yep.
For college football, because it goes hand in hand with the opening of name, image, and likeness. And this is what originally people thought name, image, and likeness was going to be. Is so you could be in a video, you can be in a commercial, not necessarily what it's become.
This is what it sort of started off with, the O'Bannon case. Ed O'Bannon and UCLA was mad that his name was being used in video games, and he didn't get anything from it. Well, all of that sort of morphed into the next lawsuit against the NCAA and the next case and the next challenge, and here we are today, and it started with video games. Why are you using my name? And then even when they kind of backed off and said, "Oh, it's not your name, it just happens to be the UCLA player with your same number and same skin tone and same height and same attributes, like if you're a really good 3-point shooter, that guy on that video game happened to be a really good 3-point shooter." So that was the likeness part of it. Yeah, it all started with the video game, and now we're kind of full circle. We're back to it, and we're in an NIL world because of it.
Who are you going to start with? You have some strong teams right here. Aggie fans, Lobo fans, because part of what, the draw of that was you didn't always want to start with the best team.
No, it gets
you play who you root for, yeah, but I do the same thing whether I'm playing Madden or 2K. I don't necessarily start with the Nuggets all the time. Right. I like to start at the baseline, maybe simulate a season, and then do the whole off-season work, draft picks. And it's the same thing in college football. And it's going to be fun to see who do you pick for Dynasty mode, because you can, of course, rebuild right here the Lobos and Aggies.
Yep. You can build them into national champions.
It's a 12-team college football playoff is here.
That's right.
It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Congratulations to Jeff Simmons.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Cross-Camara here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Try this shit better than all my intentions. Locked in shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman!
This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh? I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom. Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight. Boom. Boom.
Seriously? You expect me to drive while you aren't wearing seatbelts?
What's the worst that can happen?
The future. Are they sticking around or not? Today is the deadline for players who received a franchise tag to sign long-term deals, and most of them already got it done. Big-name players like Josh Hines-Allen, the edge rusher from the Jaguars, Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman, we got Buccaneer safety Antoine Winfield Jr. They all signed long-term deals with their teams after being franchise tag. Well, the one big name that is not signing long-term is T. Higgins. The Cincinnati receiver is going to play on the franchise tag this year, but he is hitting free agency because T. Higgins wants that triple-digit deal. He's not going to settle for the Devontae Smith deal, which is still a pretty good deal. Yeah. But you look at Devontae Smith, who's the wide receiver 2 right now in Philadelphia, playing with A.J. Brown. He re-signed 3 years, $75 million for the Eagles. These are the questions now in the NFL. It's about the wide receiver market. That's been the biggest storyline of this offseason in the NFL, has been the wide receiver position. How much do you pay? Who do you pay? And then how does that work with who you have at quarterback? It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. And the NFL, we've kind of seen this shift over the last few years. Yes, it's about the passing game and the quarterbacks. Well, that money has filtered out to the wide receivers. And I think what teams are realizing is almost in the NBA when they're going the super team route is we can have one wide receiver paid at the top, but you can't have two. Because when you have one elite wide receiver, well, it's probably because you've probably paid your quarterback a lot of money. And then you're like, well, can we have two high-paid receivers? And that's what really makes this offseason fascinating with the Justin Jefferson contract. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Mentioned A.J. Brown. He got paid. And then you have C.D. Lamb sitting there going, hello, would you like to up me? You have Tyreek Hill, who is floating out there that he is ready for his next payday. But then you have the Tua situation. The wide receiver bubble right now in the NFL, I think we are seeing it at its peak.
Yeah, I would agree. I think first of all, the wide receiver position, there is a ton of talent right there. So that does beg the question, well, why would you pay so much for it then if the 10th best receiver is still a really good receiver, if the 20th best receiver is still really good, why would you pay that 10th like he's, a first or a number one on your team. The T. Higgins thing to me is really, really interesting because I don't know what I think.
Is he a number one somewhere else?
Is he a number one somewhere else? I mean, he would be someone else's number one. I agree with that, but is he a number one star? I don't think so. I don't think he's a star number one somewhere else.
Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, even Jamar Chase, of guys these guys can swing a game.
I don't think he is. He obviously does, and he should. He should have that confidence. But man, I don't think you pay him the kind of money he wants. But
and that is also still in the team building of all this, because your quarterbacks, whatever level they are, they're gonna suck up 17 to 20+% of your salary cap, and then they need weapons. But I think we're seeing right now the case study of all these things coming together, of the wide receiver market exploding, plus the quarterback market, and then you turn right to Miami, and they just gave Jalen Waddle a contract extension this offseason. Tyreek Hill, who has $19 million on his deal next year, but no guaranteed money after that. He hasn't been Brandon Ayuk yet, where he's saying who he wants to play for next, who he wants to be traded for. They don't want me. But Tyreek Hill every week makes sure he has a quote out there.
He does.
Addressing that he wants to get paid. And Tyreek Hill, the latest coming out from the Miami Herald, was, quote, "Man, I'm just very glad the position that I'm in now. The reason I say that is I know when it's time for me to get a deal, the Dolphins will do what's right. I'm very content with where I'm at right now." And so he's making sure that he has it in the headlines. Oh, yeah, I want to get paid. But then, hey, he did Tua solid. Talking about Tua and the fact that Miami does not have a contract extension with Tua Tagovailoa yet. Tyreek Hill said, quote, "For the people to sit here and try to discredit Tua and say he's not deserving of a contract is wild to me. The mindset that he brings into each week and every week, it's there. It's like the Terminator almost, man. I feel like he should be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Obviously save some room for me," end quote. So, but I think the Dolphins are a really fantastic case study in team building right now.
Yeah.
Of investing in the talent to make a player like Tua, who I think is a solid quarterback, but is Tua the guy that's going to be able to elevate just a good wide receiver versus having a great wide receiver? And that's kind of the balance these teams are facing, of how much do you invest in the skill players, because we'll sit here and criticize teams for not giving a young quarterback enough talent. But then there also comes that time of, well, when the quarterback gets paid, what does that mean for everyone else? And that is exactly where the Dolphins are.
Yeah, I don't dislike Tua, but I'm not team Tua.
He's not a $60 million guy.
I don't think so. I don't think he is.
And I think the Dolphins have kind of made that statement clear this summer.
And I think Tyreek is playing the game right. I think he's actually probably, look, give me some money and I'll say the right things about the quarterback. I'm not going to badmouth the quarterback, but I think in an honest moment, Tyreek Hill might also sort of be okay with them going a different route and not going that way. But look, the window is small, right? Like if you don't have a Tua level quarterback, you have no chance. You have to at least have a Tua level quarterback to have a chance, right? So I think Tyreek Hill knows that, and the backup isn't better than him. So you say the nice things about him, but the T. Higgins conversation is what started this line, and I did pull up. Not that it's necessary. This is different than fantasy, but this is just ranking the top wide receivers in the NFL. And I'm curious where you think T. Higgins, just number wise, ranks. I won't list them all, but where do you think T. Higgins ranks among the best wide receivers in the NFL? According to, this isn't necessarily even a great site. It's just that it is the first site that came up, ProFootballNetwork.com.
I think T. Higgins right now is probably outside the top 15.
Correct. He's number 22 on this list, sandwiched between number 21, Cooper Kupp, who's a little low, but it's because, look, 2 years ago, he might have been top 5. 21, Cooper Kupp, 22, T. Higgins, Cincinnati, and 23, Calvin Ridley, Tennessee. So, and just some interesting names that I thought were very interesting. Rookie, Marvin Harrison Jr., the lowest or the highest ranked rather rookie is at 26. I do think he might even be better than that pretty soon, but it's hard to say a rookie. It's hard to put a rookie better than about that. And then just so you guys know too, the top 5: Jefferson obviously number 1, Tyreek Hill number 2. You want to take a venture at the next 3 just to round out the top 5?
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb is at 3.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is 5.
5.
So you skipped over one person.
Who would be? I'm trying to think. Do they have Amon-Ra St. Brown there?
Nope. He is, in fact, he is number 7. So there's AJ Brown at 6, and then there's one other person at 4. I'll give you a couple more seconds to think about it.
That receiver that's popping that I'm missing.
So this is a little bit surprising to me. I think he's still really good, but I think
Davante Adams?
It is Davante Adams. And I'm a little surprised that, again, this list, I'm not vouching for this list being the best, but I don't know that Davante Adams right now, I would rank at number 4. I thought he had slipped a little bit, but, it's 31. We'll see what he does this year.
I love, I will say Davante Adams, second round in your fantasy football draft.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Big on him right there with his value right now.
Well, what do you think about this? Number 8 after St. Brown for the Lions, Brandon Ayuk.
Ayuk has that.
I really like Ayuk.
But in terms of, because he's doing the same thing. Like, he's like, all right, I've produced. He was 7th in the NFL in yards last year, 70-plus catches. But Ayuk has that T. Higgins feel to me. Like, good, but I can't make him.
Yeah, that's the number 1, right?
Like, top 5 in the game paid.
It's so hard for me to get a good read.
And the 49ers, by the way, are going to, that's the question they're going to have to answer with Brock Purdy going to get paid.
Do you want an Ayuk who's a more traditional number 1 receiver in route running and all that? And I think Ayuk is an excellent route runner. I really think Ayuk is really, really good. But you have a piece in Deebo Samuel who is also ranked number 10, just a couple spots behind, by the way. You have a piece in Deebo Samuel that I don't think is going to last durability-wise a whole lot longer, but he actually probably creates and opens up more for your offense than Ayuk. And I think Ayuk opens up a lot. You got to be able to stretch the field a little bit. You need a good number 1 wide receiver to open things up. But I think Deebo actually gives them more flexibility, and I just don't know what you do, man. I don't know, as the 49ers, I don't know what they should do at that wide receiver spot.
What should teams do with wide receiver? Because we know the game is so much more than that. It's protecting the quarterback. It's getting the quarterback. But it's been so hyper-focused. I think some of that is the fantasy football world that slips into the real world when we're hyper-focused on the passing game. But what decision would you make? 505-246-0610. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
We here at Clark's Pet Emporium welcome you to bring in your pets. We know that having your pet with you makes the experience of shopping for them even better. And we welcome you to bring your kids also. Clark's Pet Emporium, your pet's second best friend.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Like and shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Hi, I'm Steve Stunker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange.
I did.
Plays for the Bears now?
Yep. Yeah. I just said Keenan Allen of the Chargers.
We were talking about
number 12.
So ESPN has been dropping their top 10 the last couple weeks, and they've been polling league executives and coaches and their top 10 players at the position. And this is one that, thank you ESPN for the headlines. They have on this list, the ESPN executive, the NFL executives, everyone they talk to, they ranked the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. The top is easy. You just go to the best players in the AFC and you talk about it. Number 1 was Patrick Mahomes. Number 2 on the list is Joe Burrow. The best ability is availability, and that's always the question when Joe Burrow plays, that team wins a lot of football games. Number 3 is Josh Allen. I see you smirking right there, Joe. Hold on. Number 4 is Lamar Jackson, and number 5 is a little bit surprising, but Matthew Stafford. And I think that's the talent plus what you've been ranking. Now, number 6 was Justin Herbert, and that's why we brought up the name Keenan Allen during the break, because the Chargers have nothing. Yeah. They are, when it comes to, and this is the question we were just talking about, is balancing the skill position talent, the wide receiver talent, or a good quarterback. Because I think Justin Herbert could be, a top 5, top 10 quarterback just based on talent, but is he good enough to? This isn't even like a league average receiving core. This is a bottom of the league receiving core right now. So is he good enough? So does that mean he's overrated?
Yeah, and I brought up Keenan Allen because I totally brain farted on him going to Chicago. But that list I was just referencing in the previous segment, the top 32 wide receivers on this list, not only doesn't have a Charger, it doesn't even in the kind of honorable mention these other guys were considering. No.
Oh, it's Quentin Johnson, who was the first-round pick last year. That was underwhelming. Ladd McConkey, the second-round pick out of Georgia this year, is getting a lot of hype just because from fantasy football perspective, people think he's going to be a PPR machine.
Well, you got to remember, every team's going to have a number 1. Yeah. So every team's going to have a receiver get some catches. But how good can you be in the NFL? How good? What is your ceiling if you don't have a top 50 receiver, top 40 receiver?
You don't have a high ceiling.
That's what I'm thinking. I do think receiver is a good enough position to invest in that you better make sure you have top 20 would be probably the target.
Well, and I think you've kind of seen the trend now. It's why the Lions paid Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
It's because they know they have 2 rookie guys. So you have to find one franchise cornerstone skill player and then be able to hit on the draft around him. And the Lions did that. The steadiness of Jared Goff changed that whole franchise, by the way. This goes back to Jared Goff's play. But having Amon-Ra St. Brown, who came, this is like a 5th-round pick, but him emerging into elite talent and then backing up with Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs on rookie contracts, which is you can do that. You look at, to me, there should be no question. Dallas needs to make CeeDee Lamb that guy. And then you hope you can draft and develop around him. You know, what the Vikings have done with Justin Jefferson, like, it's there. But you need at least one guy. And it's going to be fascinating to see Chargers because they changed the coach and everyone was pointing at, oh, yeah, that's the problem. It's Brandon Staley. Well, all the veterans are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I know you wanted to get out of those contracts. Okay, but now there's nothing. Like, Austin Eckler's gone. Keenan Allen's gone. So we'll see just how good Justin Herbert is without a legit, as you said, even top 50 wide receiver on that roster right now. But then you also pointed out this ESPN list, and I think because they're talking to NFL executives, they're talking, to people in the game, and a lot of this is what you've done. Aaron Rodgers is number 8 on this list.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is not a top 10 NFL quarterback anymore.
How can you say he is? Like, how can you?
Even if he didn't tear his Achilles and he was a 10-win quarterback, like, he's not an MVP candidate anymore. He did tear his Achilles. You have to take that into account moving forward. Like, he's not the 8th best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah, that one, I don't even know what you're getting out of ranking him there. Like, and that means some executives probably had him like in 4th or 5th probably to get his average up that high. Like, I just don't think if you're doing a ranking right now, I don't think in good faith you could make him a top 10 quarterback.
No, I can't. And this is one where he had his moment when he won that last MVP. You're like, all right, but then even when he had his thumb injury, like, that season happened. Like, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been a quarterback that was blowing up towards the end in Green Bay that last year. Now he's coming off an Achilles injury. Now he's 40 years old, and that is just name value right there. Because I'm with you. I'm looking at, I'll take Jared Goff, Brock Purdy could be on this list. Now he's the first on the honorable mention.
Yeah,
but I think this is really to where the NFL is quarterback wise. It always feels like there's gigantic turnover and uncertainty, but when we look at like the top 15, it's pretty good right now because you have those guys that are good, but maybe you don't love them. Maybe a Tua. I don't know where Kirk Cousins falls. Him coming off the Achilles injury now.
By the way, I really do like Josh. I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are both top 3 quarterbacks, and I think Burrows was 2, right? I'm trying to pull up the list. Yeah,
so Burrow was number 2.
So Burrow was number 2. Burrow's number 2. I like him, but like, I think Joe Burrow's. I'm more Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in front of him.
See, this is the one where I feel like I will buy into that of what I've seen.
Into Joe Burrow?
Yeah. Because I trust him coming back more than Aaron Rodgers, because I can't look at Aaron Rodgers and go, oh, he's going to be that guy coming up and Achilles at 40 versus, Burrow had the wrist injury last year, but I still think he's 27 years old.
Sure.
And I guess, if he's playing the piano this offseason, maybe that will strengthen that wrist.
One interesting thing on this list is of the executives polled, it does list the highest ranking. Joe Burrow is number 2, and his highest ranking was 2. Nobody had him higher than 2. And his lowest ranking was down at 7. So I think there are some people that have their questions about him. I mean, if at his worst he's number 7, that's still pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but it is interesting. Patrick Mahomes wasn't unanimous number 1. Josh Allen got a first place vote as the highest ranking. So that's interesting too.
We'll have plenty of fun with that list throughout the week. As before you know, we're talking 2 weeks from now. Camps are starting, not just in the NFL, but college football, especially with a 0-week game here in Albuquerque, August 24th. Global football kicks off this season. But always appreciate Jeff Grammer getting up early. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, man. This is fun.
It's so much fun when you get to hang out with us for a full 3 hours. Bob, thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
See you again tomorrow, Adrian. Great work on ProView Network. You got the Jim Rome Show coming up next. Colin Cowherd at 1. 2 men on. The boys take over at 4. Everybody, Metro, peace and love. Have a great day.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma, my brother, my tutor, my dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, It's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Everguard Roofing and Solar. For nearly 20 years, Everguard Roofing and Solar has been working with New Mexicans to enhance their homes and businesses. For all your roofing and solar needs in New Mexico, call 505-821-9543.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman! Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh? I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom. Sweet? Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight. Boom! Boom!